This is the probably not anticipated at all anxiety video, and I apologize if it's long and rambly and doesn't make much sense, because that's just the way I do shit. Let's start this off by saying that A, this is going to come to you in 3 parts in true Log Brothers style, and B, the only knowledge of psychology I have comes from either Wikipedia or this book, which I believe was last revised in 1979 or something, so times have changed in like 40 years or whatever. So let me start by saying that anxiety is not only a mental illness, but also a noun. The definition is something along the lines of feeling of unease or worry about an impending event. This here book defines it as anxiety is an anticipatory fear attached to no particular object or situation. We are anxious when we anticipate the occurrence of a harmful or threatening stimulus. Fear is what we experience when the threatening stimulus actually occurs. So that's what they define it as. So that's the academic and the psychological definition of anxiety. What you have to understand is that under the general anxiety heading, there are 3 types of anxiety. They class it as social anxiety, which can branch off and become worse, and they call it like social phobia or social anxiety disorder, I believe. Then there is generalized anxiety, and then there is panic disorder. So that's generally probably a very short and terrible explanation of what anxiety is, which is part 1. Part 2 comes in answering the questions that I have been asked. They are kind of general questions, so like kind of answering these should answer all your other questions, I hope. And remember, I'm a psychologist. I am 16 years old, or almost 16 years old. I have not even year 11 education, because I'm only into term 2 of year 11. I do not take psychology as a subject, so I just read Wikipedia sometimes, guys. It's really interesting. Have you played the Wikipedia game? It's really fun. Okay, so the first question was, I'm going to keep it anonymous, was that you're a friend with anxiety and she's a panic attack, and what do you want to do to like help her? Because you don't know what to do or how she feels. Put it this way, anxiety attacks are probably like one of the most major downsides of anxiety. Like, they really suck. You kind of feel like you're having a heart attack. I guess that's the best way to describe it. So imagine having a heart attack, and imagine having a 5-second heart attack up to you. Some people have them every day or multiple times in a day. So just ponder that in your free time. Honestly, everyone's different. Like, sometimes when I have panic attacks, all I want to do is go find my mother or my friend and kind of be like, and cry to them, and I don't know, just feel like a hug and stuff. And I'm not usually a huggy person, so it's kind of that kind of feeling. Other times I kind of just want to crawl up in bed and sleep and just wait for the anxiety to go away for a while. A lot of people are kind of ashamed of their anxiety, like they're scared to let people know that they have anxiety. So there's that factor you have to consider. Honestly, the best advice I could give in this situation is probably the worst advice ever, because that advice is just to ask her, because like I said, everyone's different, and maybe she might say, oh, you know, I really appreciate it when you like help me and calm me down, but she might say, oh, but I also kind of want, you know, my space. So really, just ask her. That's the best advice I can give. I'm sorry, it's so terrible. Next question was, how can you manage it, like keep calm and stuff? Honestly, that's a very hard question to answer, but I have prepared something. I have been through lots of strategies, lots of exercises, etc. But the one that I found was maybe didn't work the best, but because like you got to take time like to do it, and it's kind of weird to do, but I liked the way it was described to me. And it is called, if you can see the sheet, mindfulness. So I don't know if you can see the little bubbles. But yeah, it kind of just says, means paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and in a non-judgmental way. And it says down the bottom, mindfulness might simply be described as choosing and learning to control our focus of attention. There are different ways you can be mindful, but there is things like this is a breathing meditation. Number 2. I don't know who to credit because it says Kabat-Zinn. You have a lovely name, Kabat-Zinn. It says here, tune into your breathing at different times during the day, feeling the belly go through 1 or 2 risings and fallings. Become aware of your thoughts and feelings at these moments, just observing them without judging them or yourself. At the same time, be aware of any changes in the way you are seeing things and feeling about yourself. So it's kind of like understanding what you're thinking at the time. So you can kind of, if you have anxiety, you can kind of just, like if you have physical symptoms, like when I'm at school, my hands shake like chihuahuas. They're just like, Arr. Sometimes I can't write, and it's annoying, but I find that I just go, hey look, my hands are shaking, and write, and like by third period in my day, I'm like, hey look, my hands aren't shaking. So there you go. Just becoming aware of things and just learning to recognize them as anxiety and not like getting your thoughts confused, like kind of grouping them into categories and be able to group into categories like this is an anxious thought, this is not an anxious thought, kind of really is helpful. So that's how I try and manage my anxiety, and hopefully for everyone who is watching this, everyone who is suffering anxiety, it doesn't have to get to a point where you have to take medication, because that really sucks, believe me. The last question was an anonymous question, so I'm just going to read it out. I just remember I have a question for your video. I can't take criticism. Sometimes my family says something about how I'm angry and never talk to them. Just keep rubbing in the fact that I'm angry all the time, but I'm not angry, I just don't like talking to them. Then I feel annoyed at myself. Other times when people try to give me constructive criticism or whatever, I just can't take it. Like I need to be perfect, but everyone around me will always be better. That's kind of like the same idea as this, about not judging yourself. It's like you have a need, I'm not trying to like psychoanalyze you, but it's like you have a need for perfection, and that's really hard to deal with. And I think the thing is that you just kind of have to learn to laugh at yourself, and like I said, just be aware that this is part of anxiety. And like honestly, I hate when I realize that I've made a mistake, but I'm trying to learn to kind of just go acknowledge that it's a mistake and take it as something that I need to change in future, and not dwell on it, because dwelling on it and just going, oh my god, I stuffed up, I said the wrong thing, is just gonna haunt you for the rest of your life, and there's no point having it haunt you, because just don't let it haunt you. Just think of it as part of life, and everyone has them. Like you go ask anyone, take a random person off the street, and you'll go like, hey sir, do you have anything that you're really embarrassed about? He'll be like, yes, of course I do. This one time I pissed my pants. and you'll be like, oh, and he'll be like, and like anyone will have an embarrassing story that they dwell on and they're ashamed of. But if you dwell on everyday things like you're like people constructively criticizing you, is that a thing? Can you say that? Then it's not good. Yeah, that was part 2. So well done, we're almost at the end of this video. I hope I answered all your questions accurately, and I hope they help you. And this is the slightly more serious part 3. And I'm sorry if I've been really sarcastic about this video, I can't be serious. So this is kind of relating to a non-question that I got, and it was someone seemed like to me that they had really, really bad anxiety, but they didn't want to do anything because they thought that they didn't have anxiety, or they thought that maybe they were going to bother people by like going to their parents and being like, hey, I think I have anxiety. You know what? That's not the case. If you feel like you have anxiety, if you feel like it's interrupting with your daily life, then that's bad, and you need to like go and out and be like, hey mom or dad or whoever, I think maybe I might need to see someone about my anxiety. Or you might go and see a teacher if you have like a best friend teacher at your school, or like a school counselor, and they will help you and they'll be like, yeah. And put it this way, it might seem scary to have to go see a psychologist or a psychiatrist or whatever you have to see, but like in 6 months when you've been in therapy for a while, you'll be like, oh my god, what was I so scared about 6 months ago starting this? Because it honestly doesn't seem like a big deal. Not to downplay anxiety, that's not a big deal, but it's just that honestly heaps of people are in therapy. Like heaps of people, lots of different reasons. Like, why do you think that there are so many people taking psychology at university nowadays? Because like it's a needed profession, you know, and there's nothing to be ashamed about having any kind of mental disorder, having anxiety. John Green, right, writer of such classics that will become classics, you know, when we're all old and like 50 years old, like Looking for Alaska, The Fault in Our Stars. He has like crippling anxiety. So if you want to become an amazing writer, develop an anxiety disorder. That was a joke. Just know that going out and getting help isn't scary, isn't selfish. You may have anxiety and it's better to detect it, and honestly, it's going to get better. And it's going to feel so much better, and your quality of life is just going to feel better, and you might be completely cured of your anxiety in like 2 years, and you never have to go and deal with anxiety ever again. So it's better to like go and deal with it and just get it over and done with and feel a lot better and be able to have better relationships with people and better relationships with yourself than having to deal with anxiety. And it's gonna get so much better, and you're just gonna feel so much better, and I swear that it will. And that was part 3. Thank you for watching this video and asking me questions, and thank you to everyone who has supported me through anxiety and etc. soppy things. Illy 5 ever. Bye.